The US President's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff is in Israel trying to revive Gaza's ceasefire talks. He's due to visit a food distribution site in the Palestinian territory run by a US and Israeli-backed aid organisation. President Trump says Witkoff will travel to Russia next. Germany's Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul is also in Israel. He's due to travel to the Israeli-occupied West Bank later Friday for a meeting with President of the Palestinian territories Mahmoud Abbas. Wadephul is expected to discuss the ongoing violence by Israeli settlers against Palestinians in the West Bank. He's so far held talks with senior Israeli politicians on reviving a ceasefire with Hamas and preventing Israel from becoming diplomatically isolated. France, Britain and Canada say they're all prepared to recognise Palestinian statehood under certain conditions. Wadephul says Germany won't do the same, but he does want assurances from Israel.
We need clarity, also from Israel, that there will be no policy of forced expulsions or active annexation. In my assessment, we are in a decisive phase where Germany must take a clear stance. I came here with the aim of preventing a rift from opening between the EU and Israel. That danger exists. Both sides must work to ensure that this does not happen.
Let's break this down with our correspondents in Berlin and Jerusalem, Tanya Kremer and Julia Sardelli. Tanya, starting with you, how has Wadephul's visit been received so far in Israel and what's on his agenda today?
Well, his visit caused quite a stir even before his departure, when a statement was released and that created some speculation in Israel that Germany might be on the brink of some major policy shift by saying that it would respond to unilateral steps taken by Israel. Now, this prompted also a rather inflammatory tweet on X by the Israeli Minister for National Security, far-right Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, who said that Germany returns to support Nazism. Now, the German foreign minister then made it clear that Germany will not be following those other Western countries that are considering recognizing the Palestinian state in September, possibly, but they want to see this after negotiations will take place. But again, these negotiations should take place soon. He reiterated that Israel must do more in terms of the dire humanitarian situation, the starvation in Gaza, but he didn't really elaborate what steps the German government, which is under a lot of pressure right now to do more, to take a tougher stance on Israel, will take. He said he will bring this back home to Germany, where the Security Council is expected to meet over the weekend. And he will be meeting today, as you said, he will be meeting some relatives of the Israeli hostages that are still held in Gaza, but also will go to the occupied West Bank to see the situation there, as well as speaking with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas.
Julia, at this point in time, what is the political significance of the Foreign Minister's visit to Israel and the West Bank?
Well, Wadephul said this himself. He thinks this could be a turning point in Israel, and also with Germany's role. On the one hand, it seems like if Israel does not take the steps that Germany is calling for to really do something to try to alleviate the disastrous humanitarian situation in Gaza, but also pulling back from the talk of annexation and trying to really stop settler violence from spreading in the West Bank, well, it might be a time when Germany will have to move away from just criticizing with words, but actually taking action. As Tanya said, pressure is mounting on the German government, both internationally with so many of its close partners, and particularly the UK and France, saying that they are ready to recognize Palestinian statehood. But also internally within Germany, we've seen NGOs, opposition parties, and even the Chancellor's own coalition partner, the Social Democrats, calling for the German government to take more action towards Israel. So this could be a moment where we see defining what is going to now happen and whether Germany will decide to take more action.
Well, Tanya, Wadephul called the humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip beyond imagination and said Israel needed to show it was not enacting a policy of expulsion and annexation in the Palestinian territory. How has that been perceived by Israel?
Well, I think everything is closely watched what Germany says, but Germany is one of, together with the United States, one of the staunchest allies of Israel, also one of the largest arms suppliers to Israel. But it doesn't have, obviously, the political weight that the United States have. However, we've been hearing from the German foreign minister that Israel must take those steps, as Julia just said. But, the question is, what is the measurement here? Will there be an improvement seen when instead of 80 trucks carrying aid, 100 trucks of aid are going into Gaza? Now, the Germans will now join the airdrops over Gaza. But the German minister himself has said, this is not the solution. And he called on Israel to open the land crossings. But the very fact that those countries have to resort to airdrops means they don't have maybe the leverage over Israel to ask them to actually open, to let more aid into those land crossings. So it's still to see how Israel will react to all this pressure, because so far it has been rather immune to international pressure.
And Julia, could we see Germany playing a more prominent role as far as mediating goes?
Well, especially this trip feels to me a bit like a last-ditch effort from Germany, trying to use this special relationship that it has with Israel and the close friendship that ties these countries to try to convince the Israeli government as a friend to actually do something now to improve the situation in Gaza and to actually take steps to end the conflict there. Now, the Foreign Minister Wadephul has said that he thinks that his pleas have been heard within the Israeli government, but it's going to be the next few days that are going to show us whether that is the case or not. We have to also keep in mind, as Wadephul said, Israel is becoming increasingly isolated, and Germany itself, I don't think, wants to also be isolated together with Israel. It does not want to lose the closeness to its allies in Europe. It doesn't want to really go it alone, but it has also been hesitant to go further than just words of criticism. So I think unless Germany does see a clear signal coming from the Israeli government soon, then maybe this might be the time where it moves on from this mediator role and actually decides to take a stronger stance now.
You heard it from Julia Sardelli, our correspondent in Berlin, and Tanya Kramer there in Jerusalem. Thanks to both of you.